Hi everybody, this is Rick here. Welcome to Digital Fortress. I just finished watching Charles Hoskinson's live stream. I dialed into it a little late. I was just finishing up a PowerPoint on what I would speculate to be what would a future Daedalus wallet look like. And the reason that I did a what would a future Daedalus wallet look like was in order to get people thinking, to give you ideas, to get you kind of thinking out of the box and say, what is this going to look like? What are the capabilities? What all can Daedalus really be capable of doing, or what can a crypto wallet do? And there's some things that it should do, and there's some things that it shouldn't do. So I just kind of wanted to get the ideas going so that people can have a think on it. So what I used to do at a previous job, where I used to work, is I wrote some software specifications. I mean, I did a lot of different things, and that was just one of them. So I'm going to put this link up so people can dial into the live stream here. Okay, looks like my live stream's up. All right, just had to make sure I was there. I didn't want to intrude on Charles's live stream. He's a tough act to follow, man. Very interesting guy. When I was a young lad, there was an article called Ask Marilyn. It was done by Marilyn Vos Savant. If you look up Marilyn Vos Savant, she was she has the highest IQ ever recorded, possibly higher than Einstein. And people would write into her and just ask questions about anything. And that's kind of like what Charles's live streams are like, where people can just ask any question they want, and he just answers them. And it seems like he knows a little bit of everything about a little bit of something about everything, and makes for a pretty interesting live stream. Let me see. I'm going to drop this link in Telegram also, at least over on my Digital Fortress channel. And what I have is a PowerPoint. So I'm going to pull up this PowerPoint presentation here, and I just put together some ideas just to get you thinking. What would Daedalus look like in the future? What can it look like? What's it going to look like? Just to get some ideas going there. And okay, that looks good. All right, so I'm going to switch over to that now, and I'm trying to make sure. Hello there, Chris Ray. I'm just trying to make sure I can also display the chat. Hello, Roadrunner. How you doing? Taco time, taco time. It's always taco time. All right. So next what we're going to do is share my display over here on Daedalus Wallet. But kind of what I was describing is one of the jobs I used to work at, I would put in software specifications, or wrote some software specs for what something needed to do. And if then it would be implemented, and sometimes it didn't come out exactly as it was intended. So then I would write individual line items to say, this is what it needs to do instead of what it's actually doing. They're basically like software correction reports or updates or deficiency reports or enhancement requests and stuff like that. And sometimes an individual line of text doesn't really explain the characteristics you're really trying to achieve. Sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. So what I did is I made a PowerPoint here to show you what I mean and kind of get you thinking, all right? So let me share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. Make sure I do this right. Let's see here. That should do it. Let me see if that does it. Okay. All right, Elite Trance, how you doing? Andrew Wild, you like Charles AMA? Yeah, there you go. He has a lot of questions to answer, Andrew. There's a lot of people asking a lot of questions, so you probably can't get to all of them. All right, I'm just checking that you can see my screen there. There's a little bit of lag between what I'm displaying and what I'm seeing on YouTube. All right, so what I want to show you first is how highly extensible Daedalus is. All right, so Daedalus 1.0.0 just came out on the mainnet, and people are really getting a kick out of that. The one I have displayed right now is the ITN version of Daedalus. Think about how extensible it is, how flexible this software interface is. This is the ITN version. And in here, you can put these little indicators over here on the left. And in here, you have this stake pool interface. And from inside this interface, you can delegate to all these pools. So there's a massive amount of functionality and a massive amount of expandability in Daedalus. It's a very highly capable wallet. So I made a PowerPoint to kind of give a description. And the reason I thought about making this PowerPoint is this is just an example. You see this red, I just submitted this on the IOHK Zendesk and said, we should probably have these warnings in here. Now, to get to the idea of putting warnings in here as an example, it took a lot of dialogue and discussion between myself and some other folks to say, how do we prevent scammers? Because scamming is so rampant and it's really hard to protect people from themselves. And scammers have been around since the beginning of time. And in the course of discussions, like, okay, maybe we need more warnings, right? So here's a big giant red warning saying when people enter those the 12 word, 15 word, or 24, 27 word seed, whatever it is, warn them, all right? So what I did is I thought, you know what? It's going to take a really long time to get people's inputs on wallets. If it took us 20 minutes worth of discussion just to figure out we need a warning to help new people avoid scammers better, right? Because crypto can be very when you first get into crypto, understanding those 12 and 15 word passphrases is a very complex concept, okay? But it's the same as protecting your credit card. If a scammer's going to get your credit card data, that scammer's probably going to get your word seed data or your passwords or something, you know. There's always going to be scammers. So we're thinking, well, how do you help new people protect themselves from scammers? And this is one example. All right, so now I want to go into the PowerPoint. Whoops, let me make sure I got to click on the right side here. All right, so here's Daylist. Now what I did is I went on Pixabay and I took a bunch of pictures and icons and I stuck them in Daylist to kind of like expand the concept of what I'm trying to describe here. Hopefully you guys can see that well. If you can see that well, let me know. Let me go back a screen. There we go. And I went on the App Store and I just grabbed this little menu off the App Store and said, okay, if we want Daedalus to be like the App Store of the future, okay, what would it look like? And so I just snapped this little picture on the left, Discover, Arcade, Create, Work, Play, off the App Store, and then I jammed it over into this PowerPoint, and this would be an example of how Daedalus could expand in the future. Now, the reason I'm showing this to you is because what I need all of y'all to do, the members of the Cardano community, is go on the IOHK Zendesk feature request and put in a feature request. Now, these are just ideas. This is just PowerPoint magic, me slapping some stuff into PowerPoint real quick. Just took a couple hours to grab some icons and grab some pictures and stuff them into a PowerPoint. And put the ideas together to give you a visual aid and get everybody thinking about what should Daedalus be doing, what can it do, what's it capable of doing, and put those feature requests in the Zendesk, because the feature requests I saw in there, they were very technical in nature or they were very mechanical in nature, but they weren't like innovative or, you know, really expanding things. So I just said, all right, let me just make a picture, and if people look at a picture, they go. So this is one example. If you put a people icon in there, what's the hardest thing to do with Daedalus right now? Well, let's say I've got Chris over here in chat, Chris Ray, and I go, Chris, I want to send you, I'll send you some ADA. And Chris says, hey, Rick, I want to send you some ADA. Well, how do I get his address? It's really difficult. I got to DM it to him. I got to send it through Telegram. I got to send it through Twitter. I got to put it in an email. And you got to go through all this rigmarole. But what if I could bookmark it? Once I got that address, I could bookmark that in this people you know. You click on the people icon, and there's the people you've sent money to before. You sent ADA, you received data, and it's like a little contact list. Or maybe you can import the contact list from your iPhone. And all these ideas would also apply to Yoroi also, you know, or anything that you would put in Daedalus, you could also do in Yoroi or through a light client or something like that. So this was just the beginning. No, what I'll do is I'll fire through the PowerPoint. Look, see, I got more slides here. DAPs, conversions, games, utility, so on, and like I got all these different things about what could you put in Daedalus and what do you want it to do. But I'm not a software engineer. I'm a PowerPoint engineer. I don't know. And so I just stuffed it in PowerPoint here to get some ideas going. Engineering by PowerPoint. It happens. It happens. These are just suggestions, okay? I'm not an engineer. All right, let me check chat real quick for your questions. If you got questions, let me know. If you got ideas, let me know in chat. But I need y'all get on the IOHK Zendesk feature request. Put your feature requests in. Let's see. Yep. All right. Questions on AMA. Daedalus being a multi-asset wallet. Yep, from Ryzian. Thank you. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to go down here through the PowerPoint here so that I don't go on for too long. I know it's getting late. I'm kind of old. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm a little over 29. I'm a little bit older than 29. I'm 52. It's past my bedtime right now. Let's see. So people you know. How do you get the people you know or in your wallet so you can exchange value with them, right? You want to be able to store that in Daylist. And then I just put little icons here from Telegram, but that's just an example, all right? So, hey, Duckpool, how you doing? All right, so exchanges. All right, now, would you want exchanges in Daedalus? I don't know. Like, you got to kind of think about that. Should they be in there? Maybe not. Maybe they should be. Maybe it should just be a link or connection. Let's say I very frequently use Kraken and Bittrex. Could I put my Kraken or Bittrex address in there so I could quickly send ADA to that exchange? Or could it go even further? Could I conduct an exchange, token exchange through Daylist? I don't know. Something to think about. Would you even want to do that? Or is it better done through a web browser? Another question would be, how would you authenticate that? I don't know. How would you authenticate with that exchange? Could you do it through a Daedalus login? I'm not sure. Okay, so these are just things to think about. All right, Kaizen Crypto, how you doing? He says, hey, Rick, are you talking about something like a contact list? Yes, Kaizen, exactly. And if you have ideas, please feel free to pass it in chat. Now, I can't record all these ideas, but what I need y'all to do is take a look and talk with each other and figure out, you know, what do you want in Daedalus? What do you want it to do? And provide that feedback. All right, so let's look at so this is an idea on exchanges. How would Daedalus interact with exchanges? Or should it? Maybe it shouldn't, maybe it should, I don't know. Okay, the next one is shopping, all right? So let's say there's a shopping app or something like that in Daedalus, and you could connect it to eBay, or you could connect it to Whole Foods, or you could connect it to the Lambo dealer, and you can make your purchases that way. I don't know if it should or shouldn't. Maybe it can connect the payment system. Maybe it will actually connect to the purchasing process. I don't know. It's a very capable wallet. You saw at the beginning of the live stream, I showed you, look how it can interact with stake pools, and that is just one part of Daedalus. And all this would be a massive, massive amount of work for IOHK. It's not very hard to make a PowerPoint. It's a lot harder to make all the back-end connections required to make this work. Okay? So just all these different types of shopping, you know, digital electronics, shopping on Amazon, eBay, buying tacos, or whatever the case may be. Okay. The next one, what's the next one in the list here? DAPs. Okay. I hear a lot of people talk about DAPs. When DAPs? Well, that would be Goguen and beyond. So once Goguen, I don't know how to pronounce it. Goguen, there's a U in there somewhere. Is it a silent U? I don't know. But anyway, an app store or a DAP store. Now, a DAP is simply an app. It just connects to a decentralized wallet or uses a decentralized currency, or it uses decentralized information, or whatever the case may be. So DAPs is one thought. And there's a bunch of the next PowerPoint slides. Those could also be DAPs. But the question then becomes, how do you organize them inside a wallet? Because there can be thousands and thousands of DAPs. Where do you want them stored? Do you want them in your wallet? Do you want them in a web browser? Do you want them stored on the website and then you get to it that way? I don't know. And IOHK might already have plans for how this is all going to work, but I'm just trying to get some ideas here of what I think it might look like in the future. Of course, my icons are nowhere even close. I mean, it would be the really cool, sexy white outline icon, super high tech looking. I just use whatever was on Pixabay. I get my icons off of Pixabay because they are open for public use. That way I don't get smacked around with copyright. So anyway, there's an idea of DAPs. You know, would they sit in the wallet? Would you launch it in the wallet? Like, would you actually interact with the DAP inside the wallet, or would you click on it and it launches an executable residing somewhere else on the computer? Or would you click on the DAP and it launches a link, opens a web browser, and takes you to the DAP? Those are all viable options. Those are all possibilities that you can do because of the technology Daedalus is made out of. It's quite possible to do that. All right, so the next one in my list is converting tokens or atomic swaps, converting tokens right inside the wallet, if it is even possible, if it ever becomes possible, or would you want it to connect to the exchange? Okay, let me bounce back up a couple slides. The exchanges and the token conversion might be in the same tab. Maybe, I don't know. Something to think about. Maybe you might want the tokens, if you can't atomic swap inside the wallet, it's something very hard to do. Let's say Daylist can handle Cardano, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin. Could you convert them directly inside the wallet, or could you put a trading thing? Let's say you put a bartering system or a person-to-person token swap inside the wallet. And me and Chris, we are connected through the friends and family connector up here. So let's say me and Chris are connected. Oops, not in this one, right? And Chris and I decide that we are going to swap tokens. Can we click on this button and then click on the dash or the Bitcoin or the Tezos icon and say, okay, Chris, I'm going to give you 10 Tezos for 1 ADA or something like that, and then we make our trade. Could we do that? Maybe. It might be possible. Not sure if that's where it belongs, but it would be a really cool way of doing a decentralized exchange. Okay, just kicking those ideas around. All right. Hey, we got King Cardano from Australia. I've never been to Australia. Man, I wish I could go down under. I heard everything is venomous in Australia. You guys got like poisonous ladybugs and poisonous butterflies and stuff, and they bite you and they'll kill you. Let's see. I'm just kidding. Kangaroos, you got venomous kangaroos. Let's see. Okay, so that's how so converting tokens, would that take, or not tokens, main chain coins, okay? Two separate animals. So you have tokens inside Cardano, which might be part of a DAP. So let's say the ERC tokens from Ethereum Classic decide to migrate to Cardano or actually transit the Cardano network, okay? Would you trade those inside here? Then you got the main chain coins that are the primaries. Could you swap those in there? That's something to think about, okay? Now the next one is games and collectibles. All right, so games. No, I don't know if you would play the game inside Daedalus. Could you? Like CryptoKitties, or how CryptoKitties works? It would reside on the blockchain, and your DAP browser simply, it's like your viewport into the game. Or would the game actually run inside Daedalus? Or would you click on the game and it launches the game from an external executable that then connects to Daedalus and passes the data? Let's say those games use in-game money. There's a lot of games, excuse me, that have in-game currency. And there was one of them, I can't remember if it was World of Warcraft or LOTR, one of those huge games. The in-game currency is actually valued higher than the entire economy of Venezuela, which really isn't a good comparison, but I mean, it happened. so there you go. So in-game currency, I don't know how it would interact, but you get to thinking about that. Cardano is going to be there. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be very long now that all of these technologies are being deployed. This is going to come at us pretty quick. So you need to be thinking about, how do you want your blockchain wallet, the Cardano blockchain, to interact with your games and your collectibles. Some people make collectible items. There was one on Ethereum Classic with these little dragons, and each little dragon had its token ID on the blockchain, and I bought a couple of those dragons. They're pretty cool. I thought it was kind of neat. It's an electronic collectible item, so that's pretty cool. Oh, it was World of Warcraft. Thanks, King Cardano. World of Warcraft, where the in-game currency value became higher than the entire country of Venezuela. Maybe Cardano will be that way too. All right. So the next one is utility payment. Okay. And I know a lot of people talked about Cardano being used with utilities or Atala, and how would it, how would that work? So that's also something to think about, is how would utility payments work? Would it simply work, you log into the same website that you always log into, let's say your Virginia Natural Gas website, and I go on there to pay my bill, and instead of paying my bill with a Visa card, a debit Visa that's connected to my bank account, I would pay it with an address that's connected to my wallet. Now, how would that work? Would I have to go into Daedalus and tell Daedalus, here's the account number to my Virginia Natural Gas, and that way Daedalus can authorize the payment? Or maybe not the wallet, because the wallet doesn't have to be active, but somehow there has to be a key. No matter what the case is, it needs to be simple. It needs to work like my iPhone. I didn't bring my iPhone over here. And something else that got me thinking about this was it's difficult to send cryptocurrency from person to person. But last night I was playing with my iPhone and trying to figure out how to send things really simple, like Keybase. If you ever use the Keybase app, on Keybase, let's say I'm friends with Chris on Keybase. I can send stellar lumens to Chris. And, oh, there's Chris. Okay, here is 20 stellar lumens. Click, bam, off it goes. And I thought, well, how do I do that on my iPhone with this Apple Cash? And I clicked on Apple Cash and I set it up. Took me 1 minute to set it up. Then I sent my wife $1 and it took me 10 seconds. Then my wife sent me $1 back and bam, it was there. Now that's a centralized system, but Keybase works in a similar manner, which is a hybrid. It's like a centralized server maybe connected to a decentralized system. I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, utility payments, that's something else we'll have to think about. How does it connect? Do I put my utility account number in my wallet, or do I put a wallet address number in my utility online? Which way does that go? Or does it have to be both ways? Do I got to put it in both? I don't know. But that's something we ought to be thinking about, so that we can put feature requests that make sense on the IOHK Zendesk, if you guys know what I mean. Yeah, and Copace 1, I see you agreeing with me. Simple is the key to widespread adoption. I wonder how many years before simplicity happens. Yes, it has to be simple. I've seen complex software cause user fatigue. Okay, software's too complicated to use, people will go back to the way they used to do it. Okay, Daedalus is very simple right now. It is still a new concept. Crypto wallets are still a new idea in general. But as far as crypto wallets go, Daedalus is very simple. So how do you keep it simple and still be able to manage and interact and not confuse people? Plus, the more complicated something is, the more likely the scammers are going to show up and rip somebody off, because people don't understand and they go, hey, I don't know how this works. I'm going to ask somebody for help. And when they go ask for help, the scammers are monitoring those help forums and the Telegram. And the scammers, they see someone asking a question and they go, oh, that person's confused. So I'm going to DM that person and say, hey, I can help you. Just give me your 12-word passphrase. And then bam, they got scammed, right? So complexity gives the scammers more opportunity to get in there and cause destruction. So simplicity is important, okay? Let's see here. Andrew Wild says, you generate a public key based on utility company's private key. That public key is assigned to your account. Then you set up recurring payment in Daylist to that public key. Interesting. Andrew, seems like you got some good ideas there. That's something, keep that in mind. Maybe put that in as a feature request on IOHK Zendesk under feature requests for Daylist. That sounds pretty good. Sounds like you know what you're doing there. That could be a possible solution. I know there's a lot of people thinking about this, but it really helps to get user inputs. It really does. IOHK has a whole lot of smart engineers, but they really could your input would definitely help. Okay, media. This could be purchasing media, connecting to your media accounts. A lot of people don't subscribe to recurring media costs. There's so many free medias out there. It's kind of hard to pay for one. I pay for things like Netflix. I have, which one do I have? Spotify. I've got a Spotify family account, things like that. So how do you want to purchase your media? Would you want to purchase it one item at a time? And then where does that media go? You don't want to store that media in Daedalus. It's too big. Media takes up too much room. But how does it connect to that media? Do you simply use it to purchase? Let's say independent media developers, independent movies, independent purchases. Or would you just connect it like the App Store, like the Apple Music, and just say on Apple Music and say, hey, I want this movie. It's $4.99, and I click on it. And now I own that movie, and it downloads to my computer, and it gets stored in a separate app. Okay, so one mechanism is a payment mechanism, and the other mechanism stores and plays your media. Okay, so I don't know if you'd want that to play inside Daedalus, but somehow you could connect and purchase, using ADA or Cardano, or however you want to do it. All right, so torrents. Kaizen Crypto says torrents. Yeah, you could use it to connect to the torrents. It can be stored somewhere else on your computer, right? Because Cardano is basically, the communication mechanism is like a BitTorrent, and it's a super communicator in the decentralized state with Jormungandr, and then soon to be the Haskell nodes. Okay, mail-in messaging. Would you want mail-in messaging in there? I don't know. Would you actually want it inside Daedalus, kind of like Keybase? Keybase has the messaging app. It has a direct chat app. It has a forum app. It has forums inside Keybase. Would you want forums inside Daedalus? I don't know. Does it belong there? It could. Maybe, maybe not. Something to think about. You don't want it to bloat, right? You want software to be efficient. Maybe it's a plugin. Oh, you know what? My son Kyle said you might want to think about, should IOHK make it extensions where developers can create these extensions and then the users can add them to Daedalus, okay? And that opens up the whole world to develop and put extensions and put capabilities inside Daedalus. Now that's a double-edged sword, because what about security, right? If you put a plugin or an extension into a wallet, is the private key protected from that extension? That's the kind of thing that you'd want to be confident about, that your private keys are still protected, even if you put an extension created by a third-party developer, okay? And then how do you know? Like, do you get a little certification badge? Some of these developers, and I'll give you an example. Let's say you have, and I'm not picking on anybody. I swear. Let's say you have an anonymous developer with no credentials, and they post an extension on GitHub, and they say, hey, this extension you can install it in Daedalus, and it will give you a foot massage or play your favorite song or whatever. I would never install that, ever, because anonymous, no credentials, no accountability, I'm not going to install it. I have had anonymous developers ask me and say, hey, will you test my widget? And I tell them, no, I'm not going to. I have crypto on my computer. I'm not going to put your software on my computer. I don't know who you are. You don't have any credentials. You don't have a name brand like Sony, Samsung, Apple. There's no accountability. I am not sticking your software on my computer, and I am not logging into your website. Period. It's not going to happen. Accountability must be in place. Something to think about. Okay, which brings us to certificates, ID, authenticity. So this could be another widget in Daedalus. Like, how do I authenticate New Balance shoes? Well, I got to download an authentication app on my phone, and the authentication is stored on the blockchain, or the serial number or some kind of tag is stored on the blockchain. But do I want to download a different app for every single thing? Like right now, Man, I forgot my iPhone. Right now, my iPhone I got icons everywhere. If I want to interact with one thing, I got one app. Interact with something else, I got a different app. Different app, different app. So, do you really want all these different apps to authenticate something? Probably not. So, I just lumped everything in here: certificates, ID, and authenticity. Okay, certificates would be like graduation certificates, qualifications, various courses. You know, did you do the Cisco Certified Entry Network Technician? Check. You completed it. Now you have a certificate on the blockchain that validates that. You've got a diploma from somewhere. You got a certificate that validates that. These are very important credentialed things. A license to do something, a license to practice, a certificate of authenticity, a copyright. Okay, things that have property or ownership and they're important. Like this little check mark thing I threw it in. It's just an icon. It's just a visual aid, right? These are just visual aids. But, you know, is something authentic? How do you know? You know, that's what this section would be for. And I don't know if it belongs in Daylist. It can simply sit out there on the blockchain and you put an app on your phone and you can check it on your phone. Or if you like one-stop shopping and you like to have all of your apps in one place, it could also be an app in Daedalus. It could have multiple answers. There could be multiple options or multiple solutions, okay? But it's just how do you best organize it? Okay, so let me check on a few more things. I got my last one here. So certificates, identification, authenticity, you know, all those things that carry weight. They have to be correct. They can't be wrong, right? That's the stuff that falls into this category. Okay, and then my last one there's taxes, right? Okay, right now it's kind of, you can print out a comma separated value, a CSV file. Okay, that's nice. A CSV file. What about TurboTax, right? I mean, if you made a plugin and some developer out there, some third party went to TurboTax and said, hey, TurboTax, we got this thing called Daedalus and it has an accounting model in it and it has can you put a little tax widget in there so that someone can click on it and say, hey, I want to do my 2019 and my 2020 taxes. I click on my widget and it'll tell me all the incomings and outgoings that are taxable events, right? And then you can sort the taxes out. Okay, so this was a primer. This whole video was a primer to get you thinking about what should be in there, what could be in there, how should it look. Maybe it shouldn't be in there. Maybe, you know, if something's going to overkill, you don't want to be too overwhelming. You want it to be simple. And you want the functionality to sit where it's supposed to sit. Some things should still be in a web browser out there. Some things should be on a phone app. And some things should be in a full laptop app. All right, so I'm going to scan chat here. If anybody has questions, let me know. I'm going to finish up. And I'm going to be hopping off shortly to keep it brief. I know a lot of you just came from a very long live stream over there with Charles, and there was really good questions. You know, I think Charles, if you hadn't heard of Marilyn Vossavant, he might be as smart as Marilyn. And is it anyone's guess? I wonder if Charles ever figured out the Cicada 3301 puzzles. You know, there's a lot of smart people involved with that. And if you never read the story about Cicada 3301, you ought to read that story. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if Vitalik was involved, and Dan Larimer and all those guys, the early Ethereum bubbas. I wonder if they were all Cicada 3301 puzzle solvers. There was a puzzle. It's like a treasure hunt. It's like a scavenger hunt solving puzzles. All right. Savetin, how you doing? Mark Stopka, welcome. How you doing, buddy? C. Arnold, good to see you. Let's see. Plugin should be verified. Yes. King Cardano, good point. And a developer making plugins to go into Daedalus, there should be a verification process to keep users safe. Number one priority. Keep the users safe. Keep them from burning themselves. Okay? Let's see. Mark says, as long as you run any third-party apps, the keys can be extracted and encryption. Mark knows all really technical stuff, so Any feedback, Mark, if you could just put that in the Zendesk feature request, okay? Because you know how that works. Some people are very technical and don't understand those details. I don't always understand the details. I know it needs to be simple. I can click on the button, and the button does what it says it does when I click on it. Okay? That's what it needs to do. Let's see. Anything else? All good things to mull over. Andrew Wild. All right. Thanks. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for y'all. I hope everyone has a good evening, and I hope this video was helpful. It gets your ideas flowing. When I finish this video, I'm going to put a link in the description down below to the feature request part of the IOHK website. And this is gonna go quick. In the next year or two, you're gonna see Daedalus growing, Cardano growing really fast. You're gonna be surprised, compared to the last couple years. I can feel it, I can sense it. It's coming. All right. So let's see. Stop share here. I hope y'all enjoyed the PowerPoint show in the description here. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks for watching Digital Fortress. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye bye.